American colonies more than 300 years ago, it was illegal to use magic. Those magic skills were deemed to be given by the devil. This is what English law called witchcraft. But the worst witch hunts against innocent people didn't happen in colonial Massachusetts until a mix of some very bad laws, widespread paranoia, and Puritan social and religious restrictions happened all at the same time as economic and political unrest set in. The main English act criminalizing witchcraft was the Witchcraft Act of 1604. A witch found guilty twice was sentenced to death. A witch found guilty of a minor offense was sentenced to a year in jail. The General Court, which was the colony of Massachusetts Bay's legislature, wrote the Body of Liberties in 1641. This was New England's first official set of laws. Under this set of civil and criminal rules and rights, witchcraft was one of the crimes punishable by death. Quote, if any man or woman is a witch, that is, has, or consulteth with a familiar spirit, they should be put to death. End quote. This remark was supported by biblical writings in Exodus 22:188. Prior to the Salem Witch Trials, few witches in colonial America were actually executed. A conviction in the English tradition requires solid evidence of a crime. Confessions were the best proof, especially when they were followed by other evidence and at least two reliable witnesses. Although the Salem Witch Trials happened almost a century before the United States Constitution and its Bill of Rights, legal experts believed that the accused witches were denied the rights to which they should have been entitled under English common law. Here's how mass hysteria started. Girls in the community of Salem in the Massachusetts Bay Colony started acting suspiciously early in the winter of 1692. The local pastor's daughter and niece said that they were bit and pinched by unknown things, causing their limbs to flail. The first waves of fear began to sweep Salem by February as two more girls joined them. The girls were possessed. The hurt girls immediately blamed three women: a local beggar named Sarah Good, the Indian slave of the Paris family named Tituba, and a crippled widow named Sarah Osborne. As the local magistrates started to question the suspects, a crowd gathered in a tavern to watch the girls confront the woman that they had accused of witchcraft. The other two women denied the accusations made against them, but Tituba gave a dramatic account of what Satan had revealed to her. She claimed that she had inscribed the devil's book with her own blood, and that she had seen Good and Osborne's signatures next to her own. Tituba's riveting testimony played a role in the start of the infamous witch hunt, which quickly expanded throughout New England, much further than just Salem. 156 people, mostly women, were legally accused of practicing witchcraft. And between June and September of 1692, 19 people were hanged to death for the same crime, and one was crushed to death by a rock. Between May 1692 and May 1693, 5 additional people died in prison. At least 120 people were held in prison for a year or longer. And before the panic ended in 1693, many prisoners were tortured, and many had to wait months in horrible conditions for their cases to be heard in court. At least one of them died in jail. The most well-known case of a person being burnt at the stake for witchcraft is Joan of Arc. However, witchcraft was considered a crime and tried in court throughout the American colonies. The defendants frequently had a unique personality or otherwise stood out from the crowd. Witchcraft is mostly used as a scapegoat many times, and the biggest witchcraft outbreak in American history required this perfect storm of circumstances. These victims included those who had an accent or talked a little bit differently, were aggressive, or had physical or mental disabilities. All of these deaths were blamed for what people thought was a drop in religion in Puritan New England. 1/4 of those accused of witchcraft were men. 75% of them were women. It was common for a woman to face accusations of witchcraft from her male acquaintances and her family members. And it was thought that witchcraft was handed down through generations, including grandchildren. Also, any man who helped a woman who was thought to be a witch was charged with the same crime. Although the trials and executions took place in Salem, the majority of the alleged witches came from various suburbs and neighborhoods much further away. In the 17th century, Salem, which included the small farming settlement of Danvers, was absorbed into the area that is now made up of around 6 or 7 separate towns and cities. People from as far away as Boston were charged, while the nearby town of Andover actually saw the highest number of charges of witchcraft ever. These are interesting things with JC.